What's up YouTube? Thanks for tuning into this channel. Today we're going to talk about the Honda Rebel 1100T, what I'm calling their little baby bagger. And I'm going to propose two things that I like about the 1100T and two things that I really just don't like. So let's get right into it. To start off, I think the Rebel 1100 is pound for pound one of the best value cruisers that you can buy with your hard-earned cash, right? And when you compare it to other models in its class, it really does deliver impressive specs and features for the amount that you pay. So for me, I have no qualms about the Rebel 1100. I think it's a fantastic value motorcycle, fantastic value bobber, modern day bobber, and all that good stuff. But let's get into it about the 1100T. Two things that I love about the 1100T. The base MSRP is $11,299, which is about roughly like $2,000 more than the Rebel 1100. So essentially for less than $2,000, you get the fairing and the bags right out of the gate. It helps that the Rebel 1100 has a moderately low starting price, and $11,000 and some change, when you think about what you get for just that price, you get the fairing, the bags, the cruise control, all the tech. I have a hard time seeing where else you're going to get that kind of value for the money. Aside from the Rebel 1100, if you just think about that price point, $11,000, $11,500, what you get for that amount that you pay, I just don't see another manufacturer kind of like going toe to toe with Honda in terms of just like pure value for the money. So that's the first thing that I really like. So when I look at this bike, I sort of get like Harley Davidson Sport Glide vibes from this, right? Like the mini fairing, the bags, the smaller bags, maybe a smaller version of a Sport Glide, but the Sport Glide also did come in at like $18K or so. So for someone who's on a budget and still wants some limited like touring options, this is a really smart decision. The second thing that I really like about this is just, I'm always a huge fan of options, and I love that you get this option straight from the dealer rather than having to add it yourself, and that will certainly appeal to a lot of riders out there. Also, if you go for the red metallic finish, if that's more of your thing, the bags and the fairing are already color matched, so you don't have to take it anywhere to get it painted, which is additional cost. So, there's a lot of good things about this. So those are the two things that I like about the Honda Rebel 1100T. Let's get into the two things that I really just don't like. The first one I was really disappointed is the DCT automatic transmission. This is the only option that you get in the US. I believe in Canada you get the manual option, but I'm in the US, and so the only option that we have is the DCT version. For me personally, I want control over my motorcycle. I think a lot of other riders do. And I get that the DCT may appeal to a lot of riders out there, but I certainly don't understand why that wasn't an option, just to have the DCT and the manual version. Offer a manual version and just charge a little bit less. Like, that's a huge win. I don't understand it. I think they're really shooting themselves in the foot by doing this in the US at least. The second thing is just the whole name and the notion of this motorcycle being a bagger. Baggers have become synonymous with large fairings, bags, big fuel tanks, infotainment systems, and all the bells and whistles that a lot of baggers offer, and that is not what this is. This is just a Rebel 1100, slap a fairing and bags. In my opinion, that doesn't qualify it as a bagger. The 3.6 gallon tank is a big miss. That's not going to really get you very far. You still have the cramped seating position. It's a smaller bike and you have mid controls on it. So realistically, how long are you going to be touring on this bike before you have to get off and stretch? And you also get the small bags. They don't look that large from the photos that I saw. And I think you can actually see how much they actually hold, and it's not a whole lot. This is not a touring machine. And to be honest, I'm completely fine with that if you don't tag it or if you don't try to sell it as a touring machine. This is not a touring machine. Yes, you can tour on it. You can technically tour on any motorcycle, but there's a class of motorcycles that I would consider touring machines, like road glides, street glides, Goldwing, and this is certainly not that. I just think Honda could have done something better with the naming, because names matter. Like when you hear the name touring motorcycle, you already have an immediate baseline expectation of what it means to be a bagger. You're setting yourself up for failure if you're calling something a bagger and it doesn't deliver on a lot of the bagger essentials. So those are the two things that I don't like about the Rebel 1100T. But with all of that out of the way, I'm still very much intrigued by this. By no means am I the target market for this type of motorcycle, but I can clearly see that there is one. A lot of us, when you go out and buy a motorcycle, even if it's very minimal, even if it's a bobber, strip back version, we all end up eventually wanting, a storage or wind protection, right? And I think the buyer for the 1100T isn't going to be someone who wants to tour the country or has touring top of mind for them. But I think this is going to be a person that, is a weekend cruiser that might do an occasional trip every now and again. And they really like the 1100 and they just want the optional storage and the fairing. So I think that will be a perfect fit for those type of riders. Now, the interesting thing is I could see this as a market test by Honda to see what kind of reaction and ultimately like what kind of sales numbers will look like before maybe actually putting something into R&D to be a more refined version of this Rebel 1100 bagger. From an operational cost perspective, it doesn't really cost that much for Honda to slap on a fairing and bags, so it really makes sense for them. I mean, they already have the 1100 models built. I think this is an interesting move, and based on what we saw from the Lowrider ST, I think it could create a pop in demand for Honda for 2023. I'd be really curious to see one in real life just to see the size of the bags and what the fairing looks like and all of that stuff. Alright, that's it for me today. Real quick and short video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm going to skate out of here, but until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.